ไม่มีเดี๋ยวจะให้ชาวต่างประเทศนี่ก็มาจากแคลิฟอร์เนียเนี่ยเมื่อเช้านี้ก็มาถามปัญหาได้ส่วนหนึ่งแล้วยังไม่หมดอยากจะมาถาม Come on in you want เป็นหมอนะให้บอกเป็นหมอแคลิฟอร์เนีย You want to come closer What kind of physician are you what do you specialize in
Internal medicine.
Internal medicine. I see. And you work for the army?
No.
You just volunteer for the...
Yes, at that time. And now we have...
They asked for volunteer at that time?
No, I was in the... At that time, I was in the... Really, you can call it volunteer. It was in the service because they needed physicians at that time, so I was there. But it was not on a regular basis. We just have to once a year we had to work.
Where do you work normally? In the hospital or do you have a...
The hospital. I never, in all my life, I didn't want to do private practice because I never could.
What do you do with people? What kind of work? Internal medicine. What do you look after?
Medicine is really people who need hospitalization for heart attacks or things like that. Those things.
So you sort of screen the patient first as to what's wrong with the patient. Then
Yes,
then you send it to a specialist.
Yeah. No. There is a internal medicine where you treat the patient if you want.
What do you treat? The heart or the lung?
Everything.
Everything.
It includes everything. It includes everything, and sometimes I have done minor surgery type of things also. So. And I also did obstetrics and gynecology. So that helped me a lot to understand Dhamma also.
So what do you want to know?
You have the permission to record.
Okay.
What I wanted to... Another aspect of it, where I looked at it, I sort of...
louder.
Another aspect of it, when I was doing contemplation after the meditation and so on, and that made me understand the non-self aspect of it. See, a thought arises. With the arising of the thought, there is the self arising. And then the self ceasing. With the mental it arises, it ceases. Then, because two thoughts can't arise at the same time in the mind, it has to be one thought has to completely come to an end before the second thought arises. So one thought arises, it ceases. And then another thought arises, it ceases. Because two thoughts can't arise at the same time, then it has to fuse. Therefore there is a gap. But this gap may be fraction of a second even. But during that fraction of a second, there is no self. Because I looked at it, there is no self, because there is no vijnana for nama-rupa to be there. So there is a gap without a self. And then there is another self, another without a gap. So there is self, no self, self, no self. So there is no, if there is a definite self, then there has to be.
Well, see, the way to prove whether there's a self or not self is in your daily life.
Yeah.
When you see your wife and she scolds you, if you get mad, then there's a self.
Yes.
See? If you don't get mad, then there's no self.
Yes.
So that's what you have to more concerned with. Not so much as what you see alone. When you're alone, there's no problem. Problem only arises when you meet other people. When you meet other people, when you get angry, that means there's a self. That means you are fallen to the hand of the delusion. If you have wisdom, then you say, there's no self. So who's getting scolded? Who's gonna be angry? There's only the knower, right?
No.
See, this is what you have to remind yourself all the time, especially when you involved with things and people, because that's when yourself, the delusion will start to come out. See? When somebody take this thing away from you, you get angry. Then this is my iPad. How can this be your iPad when there's no self, right? See, when you're alone, you can think there's no self, but it's not practical. You have to apply in your life, because that's where the problem exists. Not when you're alone, but when you are with people and with things. You see. So this is when you want to apply it. When you're alone, you just want to remind or practice your reaction. That from now on, I'm not going to react. Whatever happened, because there's no me. See. There's only someone who knows. There's the knower, but there's no there's no person to know. It's just knowing. There is action, but there's no actor. There is feeling, but there's no feeler. So you have to neutralize yourself that way. And the only way to be able to do it naturally is to have ubekha. Ubekha, when you meditate and your mind drop into appana samadhi, then that's when you gain ubekha. And then when you come out, you still have some ubekha left. You want to maintain that ubekha by using wisdom, vipassana, to remind yourself, there's no self, there's no me, there's just knowing. So just know, whatever happened to you, to the mind, just know. The mind just knows. Don't react. As soon as you react, especially emotionally, then that means you start to have the self again. When you see something and you don't like, you already react. See? When you hear something you like, you react. If you just see and don't react, then there's no self. So the problem is the reaction when you come into contact with things, with people. You should not react. Just beware. That's the test of your wisdom, whether you really have the wisdom to guide your mind or not. See?
The grasping leading to power.
Huh?
The grasping will lead to
the
grasping, holding on to.
Grasping, yes. Attachment,
yes.
Clinging. This is I, this is mine, this is myself. You have to get rid of this. Just say, there is no I, there is no me, not myself. There is only knowing. So if you can maintain this understanding, then you will be free from all forms of mental suffering. No dukkha.
In fact, sometimes when things, conditions happen, I always look at it in that manner. That just like as I told you, if there is no pain, if there is pain.
There is pain, but there is no one who feels the pain. There's just someone watching the pain, being aware of the pain. See? If you have ubekha, the mind will not feel painful. But when you come out of ubekha, your mind will become painful, because the delusion will start to mislead you to think that you are the one who is experiencing the pain.
Just as they say, the path is there is no one who tends the path. So, yeah, that's
and Arhat also has the skandhas, right?
Yeah, he still knows the pain. The body, he gets sick, he got stomach ache, he got headache, but the mind doesn't react to the pain. See, with ordinary people, when the body gets sick, the mind reacts strongly, and the mind becomes sicker than the body. Like you said just now, you don't need to use any painkiller, right? When you get sick. Because you know it's only the body that, and if your mind don't not afraid of the pain, then there's no need to take any painkiller.
Another question I want to ask. I have read about the path movement. Is there a thing really called a path movement?
Path movement.
No, they refer to it as the path movement when you say enter the path at any stage, at the Sotapanna, Sakadagami, and so forth. They describe it as a path movement. Is there anything called a path movement?
I say it is the moment when you can extinguish the mental suffering. Like for instance, if your mind becomes very sad because you lost something, then when you have the wisdom to see that this is normal, there's nothing you can do or prevent it from losing. And when you realize this and you let go of your attachment, then your mind flips from being sad to become peaceful again. That's the path moment and the fruit moment happen at the same.
At that point, when it flips.
Yeah, when it flips from dukkha to nirodha.
At the first stage of Sotapanna,
you have to expose yourself to danger, and until you feel totally, completely, very stressful, because you're afraid you're gonna die. And then suddenly you said, well, this is not my body. It's gonna die. Let it happen. When you do that, you let go of the body. Then your mind flips from stressful to nirodha.
And as I told you earlier, when that flipped, in that I lost my consciousness. I didn't know what happened for some time.
Well, you shouldn't lose your consciousness.
That's the thing.
You have to be fully aware.
Because at the moment I thought I was going to die, and then it flipped, and then I sort of, as if I am waking up from a sleep, like feeling that comes up after that. So and the other incident that happened was that I thought it was a severe pain, like a chest pain, but, because I always think about it in that manner. But when that severe thing comes at night, just let it go, and it disappears. That time I was fully aware of it.
So that's the path and fruit moment. The path is when you investigate the pain or the body, and then you
just let it to go.
Yeah, let it go.
I just let it to go, and it also disappears.
When you truly let it go, then your mind will flip over.
It happened to me while I was sleeping, and then I got up with this severe pain. I thought, just let go. There's nothing here.
When you keep on looking at that, the pain or whatever emotion, when it just disappears without you realizing and you know that it disappeared, then is it something that happens automatically, or is it something that you consciously?
Well, the nature of pain itself is impermanent also.
When you keep on investigating the pain, it just disappears.
What you want to disappear is not the physical pain. What you want to disappear is the mental pain. The mental pain that arises from your desire for the physical pain to disappear. When you say you cannot control the physical pain, and you cannot have the desire for it to disappear, so you give up that desire. When you give up that desire, the mental pain will disappear. Then you realize that the majority of your pain is not the physical, but the mental. Then from then on, you will not be afraid of any physical pain, because you know it's very small, minute, compared to the mental pain which you cannot control.
In fact, after those couple of incidents, those days I used to even take aspirin or something for the pain, for a slight headache. After that, for the last 10 years, pain doesn't bother me. I just don't take anything.
Yeah, because the majority of the pain is in the mind.
It's in the mind, yes.
The stress. Yeah.
And mainly when you think of it as non-self, it doesn't bother you at all.
Right.
Just
That's why the Buddha and the Arahant can die peacefully. They don't have to go to the hospital. They don't have to have any medicine. They just use their mental strength.
Do they know that they're dying?
Yeah, they're watching the body like a physician. You are better than the doctor who treats you, because you're the closest. The doctor doesn't know how you feel, how much strength you have left, but you know every minute how much strength you have left by your ability to breathe. The harder for you to breathe, then you know you're losing the strength to live. See? Because when you can no longer breathe, then you know that's the end of life. That's all.
Now, on that same thing, now, I always want to know, now when we are born, are we bringing that amount of time that we live according to the karma, or can that be extended according to the way you live in this life?
You mean, can your karma determine how long you live?
When you are born itself, is the time that we die also decided at that same time?
What he's trying to ask is that karma that brings about this birth. Will it continue till that karma comes to an end?
It depends how much time you have to spend paying your karma debt.
Yes.
See?
Yes.
So when you die, you will have to go either to the good karma or the bad karma. It depends which one has the stronger influence. If your bad karma is stronger than your good karma, then you go to the abhaya. You go to become an animal. You just rot in hell for a while until that karma dissipates. When the good karma and the bad karma are equal, then they cannot bring you to heaven or to hell. Then you go look for a human body.
What I want to know is whether that time limit is brought about when we are born itself, or
no, it's limited by the extent of your karma. If you do a lot of good karma, then you will spend a lot of time.
So while we live in this life, also you can do good karma and extend.
Yeah, then you can spend a lot of time in heaven. If you give a lot of dana, give a lot of food, helping a lot of people, and you keep the 5 precepts, when you die, you'll go to heaven and stay there for a long time.
Yeah, but if you want to shorten the
you want to come back. If you want to come back, if you want to shorten the samsara, then you have to develop wisdom. You have to be able to let go of your attachment to the body and the pain, and then you have to let go of your sexual desire. You have to contemplate on the asubha, on the unattractive part of the body. Then you will no longer want to have a human body. When you don't have this desire, then you don't need a new body. So when you die, you don't have to come back and be born as a human being again. Then you become an anakami. Then you be in the Brahma realm. Yeah. And if you can destroy all the delusion of the mind as being yourself, then you can become an arahant, or your mind become nibbana. Then that's where you will remain for the rest of time.
So now in this life, if we meditate and we practice keep the sila and all that, and during that time, if we die before we complete the path,
it depends how far if you are Sotapanna, then you have 7 more human life to the maximum 7 life. But it could be less. It depends on how much you practice. If you practice until you reach the anakami stage, then you no longer have to have any human birth anymore.
So that will take away any bad karma that would be in our other births. Although we didn't do it here, other births.
Once you become a Sotapanna, you can stop the mind from going to the apaya. You don't have to go pay your bad karma anymore. Except the bad karma that will accumulate, will come when you're born as a human being. That you still have to pay.
That's the karma that you have because of the wanting.
Like when you're born, you might have bad karma come after you.
They say that when you become a Sotapanna, you destroy most of all that, destroy all those past karmas, because it is limited to maximum 7, 1 to 7. Mm-hmm. And is that because now you have let go of Sakaya Ditti? Is that the reason?
Mm-hmm. You have let go of your desire to live.
What is that to live?
Because living,
there's no
birth is suffering. You see, birth is suffering.
Body is suffering.
Because there is aging, sickness and death accompany birth. So you don't want to come back. But since you cannot destroy your desire for sexual desire, you still want to come back and have a body to
complete that desire.
Right, But once you see the body as unattractive, as unwholesome, then you can destroy that desire. When you don't have that sexual desire, then you don't need to have a body anymore. So you don't come back.
It's a sensual
pleasure.
Area of existence. The sensual existence type. The Sotapanna, if I am not mistaken, I have read, I think, the Sotapanna is referred to as this Ekabhinya one-seeded, Ekabhinya Sotapanna, having only one
life.
birth. Yes, and that is a person, generally, is a person who always gets angry. And that person, if he breaks through, that he can be a Ekabhinya Sotapanna with that.
I really haven't paid much attention to all the differences. It doesn't matter. What matters is try to
enter the path.
Try to get rid of your desire. Because the first obstacle is your desire to live, the desire to have no pain. See, you have to get rid of that. Once you have to get rid of that, then you have to get rid of your desire for sex. Once you have done that, then you don't need a body anymore. You can do it 7 days, or you can do it 7 lives. It's up to you. Some people still like to have sex, so they stop practicing asupa. See, a Sotapanna still have a family, still have a wife and husband, and still enjoy sex with each other. See. But one day they'll get sick because when you lose your loved one, when your wife die or something, then you say, oh, this is suffering. I better live without a wife better. So next time when you have sexual desire, instead of trying to go get a new wife, you try to contemplate on asupa to get rid of your desire. Because if you get a new wife, maybe she'll leave you again after a while.
Why taking another 5 khandhas?
That's right, So it's better to try to get rid of your sexual desire. If you can get rid of about half of it, then you only have 1 life left. You become a Sakidakami.
You should get to the whole thing in Sandamaga.
The Sakidakami is someone who has less than his sexual desire, his or her sexual desire. Maybe about 50%. Less. Not so intense like a Sotapanna.
The other question is, have you got to go to enter in the path at the level? Have you got to go to the meditation, to the samadhi, to about a upachara samadhi level, or is it necessary to that level?
To gain the path?
To get the path.
You have to have a ubekkha mind to be able to contemplate on the true nature of things.
Yes, but
you might have to be rational.
Yeah, has your samadhi level had to go up to that level, or can it happen below? Or is it that the khanika samadhi, which is the momentary, through that also can it happen? Momentarily get into that and break through? Or is it you have to go all the way to that upasara samadhi level and maintain?
Khanika and appana is like when you're washing your glass window. If you only have just 1 second to wipe it, you don't wipe it clean, so you don't see clearly. But you have enough time to wipe the window clear, then you can see what's on the other side clearly.
So Asotapanna, that level is enough for Asotapanna?
No, you need to have a clear mind. You have to see things clearly as they are.
So then, in that case, then if you contemplate on the pain, and then you just let go of that pain.
Yeah, you cannot let go because you don't see it clearly as belonging to the body, not belongs to you. See.
I say,
but when you have ubekkha, then you can see it clearly.
Yeah, but if you see that and if it disappears, then
that means you have. If you can let go of the pain, then it means you have. If you cannot, then it means you don't have. So it's not so important to measure how much you have. Just measure how much you can achieve better. See. Because some people, you look at them and you say they never sit down in samadhi. How come they become a sotapanna? Because they might already have samadhi without they knowing themselves having samadhi. See.
That is sort of what I thought, because she was saying that you have to go to these levels of this because of these things, because has happened. I see that it can come there without all the details going in also. Letting go is all that is required. That's
because their mind is clear enough to understand that everything is anicca dukkha anatta.
And then after that point it tends to sort of follow you in the sense that every time a pain comes, you have no reaction. You have a nekam. You look in the nekam aspect of it. It's just pain. That's it. So that's it. It will come. It will go.
It's like you seeing somebody feeling pain.
Yeah.
When you see somebody feeling pain, do you feel painful to it? You don't feel anything.
Yes.
It's the same way.
It's the same.
When you look at the body as it belongs to someone else's body, but you feel the pain, but you don't react to the pain that you feel.
Because even a person like that, even if he gets cancer, he's not interested. Not interested going through all the other suffering of chemotherapy and all those things. That does not bother him at all. It's just a waste of time, waste of some more dukkha.
Just extend your dukkha longer, that's all.
That's the way, at least I look at it that way.
So most of the teacher, Ajahn, they usually don't go to hospital. They know their time has come.
Just like Ajahn Mahaprabhu.
They accept the reality. They don't want to, resist or fight the reality.
Yes, it can be understood very simply, waste of time.
It just makes you suffer longer, that's all.
Just extend your suffering, that's all.
No, unless you can fix it and return
you
back to normal and continue on doing something good, then do it.
You do what you can, but
like when you get sick, if you have medicine to cure your illness, okay, take it. But if you know that no matter how much it doesn't gonna make anything better, it's just extending your suffering, then it is pointless to treat it. It's better to let it go.
It is better to go to another one.
But to cure it is also wrong. Like in the West, to kill the body because you...
I know, that is the other thing here.
But we can keep a living will, right? If we are in a sort of a vegetative state, we can leave a living will.
You can tell them stop treatment, but you cannot tell them to inject you poison.
Exactly.
No. Just not to put us into machine.
Not to do any more treatment.
Yeah.
Leave the body naturally.
Natural death.
And that was a question that I always had, although I didn't have to face that. See, a person is supported by the life support system. He is sort of call it a layman terms of the vegetable, but the life system, support system maintains him. As long as the breathing and circulation is maintained artificially, you can continue to make him go. But then the family says, no, pull them out. But you feel bad. You know, as long as the system goes, he's still alive. It is still going on. So
you're not killing that person. You just stop treatment. That's all.
That's all, right?
You just stop treatment.
You have to think in that term.
Yeah, because maybe you don't have the money to pay for the hospital. So what do you do? If you tell the hospital you don't have any money, what would they do? They would just take up the life support out.
Yeah, but
they stop treatment.
But as a physician, if you think no, the life process is continuing because of the support system, would you take their advice and pull the plug? That's what in the terms of, see, somebody comes to me and say,
ask you what to do. Ask you for your advice.
Advice, of course, I would say maintain it because he's still living. But he says, no, we want it pulled out. Then what happens at that position? Still you don't want. If you suspect that life is still going on.
But it's not natural anymore. See?
But can you pull that?
Yeah, because pulling the plug is only mean you're stopping treatment. Yeah, you're not stopping the person from breathing.
But the point is, when you pull it, there are some who takes just a couple of breaths and go down. That is, but when you pull that, there's an incident where one patient took a couple of gasps of breath and went down.
Okay, so what? It's time for that
so
patient to go.
Therefore it does not matter.
Doesn't matter.
Because one of my experiences is that where the patient got a heart attack, and then we did everything possible it went on for a long time. Therefore we got the length of time. Normally 3 to 4 minutes if you go, the brain is dead. So therefore it went for about 4 or 5 minutes, and everybody gave up. But yet something told me, no, go ahead. And I did something that was sort of a drastic step where the medicine was straight away injected to the vein. Then he starts beating. He started having a heartbeat, and later on I saw him even in the clinic. So that is something that made me think.
This is something you have to try to experiment.
So didn't that thought for him to save him come because of the time that he has to live? Isn't that that thought came to him because of that reason?
Not to let go, but can do this. See, because he had to live.
Doesn't matter. You always look at the end result. He lives or he don't live. That's all. Why bother what causes him to live or what causes him to die? It doesn't matter. Just look at the end result. That's all that matters. You can use all kind of explanation. You say good karma helps him. You can say good doctor helps him. Whatever you want to use, it doesn't matter.
But if you think, hold it. Hold on to what you think is right.
Pulling the plug and not pulling the plug.
Or maintaining.
It depends on the situation.
Yes. But if you suspect.
If everybody happy not to pull the plug, okay, leave it there. If everybody wants to pull the plug, pull the plug. So what? the result is the same. He just lay there anyway. He doesn't do anything anymore. Cannot do anything anymore.
But there was a case where he was made, a child was maintained for 15 years by that mother.
But there's only one case. You cannot use that one case to apply to other cases.
I don't know. But the child walked after that, he was quite okay. So,
it's okay, you're right. Say, if you can afford it, you can maintain the
so it's not taking a life as such.
Taking it in, but what I'm saying is that by taking it out doesn't mean you committed any crime or committing any sin. You didn't kill the person by pulling the plug. You just stopped treatment. That's all.
And I'm glad I never had that.
That's what happened to Long Po Cha. I think Long Ta Mahamo was the person to tell it's time to pull the plug. Because you're just prolonging his suffering. That's all.
In the book, Samana, he talks about that. Anyway, I'm lucky I didn't have to face that situation.
But if you have to inject some poison into the person to make him, then that's a sin.
Oh yes,
that's killing.
That is your intention is there. You are using all the conditions for killing is there.
Any other question? ฟังรู้เรื่องไหมเบื่อไหมไม่เบื่อสนุกว่าต้องทำยังไงถึงจะ Speak English ได้ไหม
as the way that you were saying about the arising of the anger, how we can actually not stop, but let's say people actually scold you, you suddenly, like you're hold them back straight away. So how we can actually...
Well, you first have to figure out what's the cause of your anger. And basically, your cause of anger arises from your desire. You want something, and when you don't get what you want, you become angry. But if you don't want something, then you usually don't get angry. So you should try to stop your desire.
So let's say if someone I don't know, and they actually scold at me without reason, and then I get straight away, get really
Because
angry.
you don't want them to scold at you, see.
Right.
That's your desire. So you have to change your attitude. You say from now on you're willing to let people scold you.
Okay.
When you let people scold you, then you're happy because you have achieved what you wanted.
Right. So you're practicing non-self from that way.
That's right. Because the Buddha said, in this life there's two sides to everything. If there's praises, there's also blame. There's also criticism. You cannot take just one. You cannot just take praises. You also have to take criticism, because they come together. Okay.
I have a friend back home. He didn't get a chance to come here to meet you. He wanted to ask a question of you. He just started learning about Buddhism. He says, from what he's been learning, he's been having a problem with he cares a lot about people all the time, and sometimes he stresses over it, whether it's an old girlfriend or a good friend. He's always stressing over. He wants to have compassion for them, but he feels like that compassion is causing him stress.
No, it's not compassion. It's his desire to have them, to possess them. He doesn't want that person to belong to someone else. When that person starts to talk to some other people, you start to become suspicious already. Is that person leaving me? She no longer like me, and so forth. It's attachment. See, possessiveness. It's not compassion. True love should be giving. You should be, if the person is happy talking to other people, you should be happy with her. See? But that's not what you want to possess her. You want her only to talk to you and nobody else. This is what caused him to stress. See? So he has to let go of her. Treat her as if someone you never met before. See? Don't possess. When you start to possess, you become attached. When you become attached, you become protective. See? And you don't want that person to do anything that you don't want that person to do. When they do something that you don't want them to do, you become unhappy. So we have the tendency to, when we like something, we want to keep it for ourselves. We don't want other people. We don't want to share with other people.
When we let go, we normally change how we look at that. Right?
We have to look at that person. That person is just like you. They have their own will. They have their own feeling and thinking. They can change any time. Today they might like you, but tomorrow they might get sick of you. What would you do when they get sick of you? They don't want to talk to you anymore, but you still want that person. See? Then you become stressed because you cannot get what you want. See? So the problem is always come back to our desire, the three desire, the desire for the sensual thing, okay, the desire to be or not to be. These are all the problems that make us stressful. When we have no desire, then we won't have any stress. Very taxing as they are. If you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, just accept them for what they are. Maybe today they are nice to you, and maybe tomorrow they no longer are nice to you. So just take them whatever comes. You cannot expect them to be nice to you all the time, because everything changes, right? The person's feeling change. Their feeling toward you change. When they first meet you, they might like you, but after they get to know you better, they might not like you anymore. If you don't want to have any stress, then don't have any desire. Just take things as they come. Like the wind, see? It comes. You don't expect it. You don't demand. Let the wind come, let the wind go. Let everybody come and go into your life. If you can learn to live alone, then you will not be affected by the coming or going of people.
But when we live in the human world, we always come in contact with humans.
Yeah.
So living alone itself doesn't take away the problem. You have to deal with problem.
You have to have samadhi. See, once you have samadhi, then you like living alone, even though you're living with other people.
So to have samadhi, you always have to go to the jhana, right?
Yeah, only when you're sitting. See. But once you come out of the jhana, then you can use vipassana to maintain that calm, that ubekkha in your mind. Vipassana is to let you know that don't cling, don't desire for things. Let everything be. Let them be. Don't try to manipulate or possess them, because you cannot. Because sooner or later, whatever you have, you will lose it. So if you have it, just be ready to lose it. Then you will have no stress.
So the path movement doesn't have to be that point of where your samadhi, you go straight to
the path movement is when you're in critical situation, when you're in great fear.
There's no reaction.
When you're in great fear and somehow you can eliminate that great fear.
Oh,
that's the path movement.
Oh, that is.
When you're really strongly angry, then suddenly you can flip your mind and then change your anger, eliminate your anger, and that's it.
Eliminating the pain, it's the same.
It's the same thing.
Or letting go immediately.
So you need a situation to create that path movement. See? When you live in a normal, peaceful moment, there's nothing to stir up the path movement. You have to be in a crisis. You have to be in a crisis mode.
He's like teacher from hell.
There's a
I
Thai.
use all the angry moments.
Yeah. In Thai we have a saying: if there is no dukkha, there is no vipassana. You need to have dukkha. Once you have dukkha, then you have to develop vipassana to deal with the dukkha. But if you don't have any vipassana beforehand, then when you have dukkha, you cannot deal with the dukkha properly. That's why you have to practice vipassana first. When you practice, you are not yet actually using vipassana. You're only preparing yourself. You have to wait for the crisis to happen. Like one day your son say, "I'm going to leave you. I'm not going to stay with you." How would you react? See? If you say, "Okay, you want to go, no problem," then you have vipassana, because you see it's anicca, right? You see it's anatta. So you need something to have this past moment.
Yeah, I think this is the best explanation that I have really read down that past moment, because that I have read was trying to show that it was in a state where you had to go into a high level of samadhi, and at that time there's a breakthrough. But it's really, the breakthrough really comes when you are in that crisis situation in a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Understanding the anicca dukkha aspect.
Like the Venerable Ajahn when he listened to the Buddha's giving the Four Noble Truths, he suddenly realized it means that all the time he's worried about getting sick, getting old and die. But when the Buddha finally said the body is anicca, then he suddenly realized, he has to let go of the body. Once he let go, he becomes peaceful, no longer worry about getting sick, getting old or die.
That's why he shaved his hair and all that.
That is how you can explain how most of them became Sotapanna and above listening to the Buddha. That letting go at that.
Yeah. But we listen to the Buddha's teaching, but we cannot let go. So there's no change in our mind. We still worry about getting sick, getting old and die.
Even if you know all the Dhamma, if you can't let go.
But you still worry, right? So you can tell yourself it's sanditthiko. Dhamma is sanditthiko. Whether you have attained or not attained, you don't have to go ask other people have attained.
Yes.
You know inside yourself that you have attained or not attained.
And the change that follows.
Yeah, you live a worryless life. You will not worry about the body. You look after. You don't have to stock medicine, stock food, stock all kinds of protection. Because no matter how much you have, you cannot stop the body from dying. So you just live simple life, natural life, like animals live in the forest. The difference between animal and a Sotapanna is a Sotapanna knows he's going to die, but the animal, they don't, that's all. But the animal, they're not so worried about dying anyway, right? They just continue on their life living, and when they die, just die.
It's the same mind.
Mm-hmm.
The animal's mind and human's mind is the same.
Same, but they're in a different level, see. The level is to look for happiness by maintaining life. So they don't have time to worry about getting sick, getting old or die.
Isn't that due to not having the
personality? They don't have knowledge that they will get sick, get old and die. They don't have that wisdom. It's not like human being. Human being has that ability to look into the future of itself, that it's gonna get sick, get old and die, because it see example of other people. And it can draw that example back toward itself. But the animal doesn't have that ability.
And it is because the Sotapanna has that knowledge that he will never take birth in that animal world again.
I'm not sure, but he...
No, it is because of that a Sotapanna will never be born in the animal world. Because of that knowledge that he has.
Mm-hmm. because he doesn't live like an animal anymore. He doesn't kill to protect his body. Not like animal. Animal they kill in order to maintain their life. But Sotapanna, like you say when you went to war, if the enemy came with a gun, you will just give up, right? You won't pull a gun and shoot at your enemy because it's useless.
So even you have mosquito bites, you just let the mosquito bite.
Yeah, you just let it go. Just down just giving your blood. So like going to the Red Cross and donating blood.
นี่ถามภาษาอังกฤษไม่ถามว่าไงมีคนถามหลวงปู่ดุลว่าพระอรหันต์ฝันหรือเปล่านะคะแล้วหลวงปู่บอกว่าเป็นสังขารขันธ์ไม่ใช่เหรอก็เลยไม่ค่อยเข้าใจว่า
คือสังขารแปลว่าความคิดปรุงแต่งพระพุทธเจ้าพระอรหันต์ปุถุชนนี่มีเหมือนกันมีขันธ์ห้าเหมือนกัน
ก็คือเป็นเรื่องของขันธ์
ของขันธ์เพียงแต่ว่าความฝันของพระอรหันต์นี้จะไม่ได้ฝันไปตามทางกิเลสจะไม่ได้ฝันไปว่าไปร่วมหลับนอนกับคนนั้นคนนี้ไปเพราะท่านไม่มีกามอารมณ์ความฝันของท่านจะไม่เหมือนกับคนบางคนที่ฝันแล้วฝันเปียกอย่างเงี้ยเนี่ยฝันเปียกนี่เป็นของปุถุชนแต่ถ้าเป็นพระอนาคามีขึ้นไปนี่จะไม่ฝันเปียก
แต่ก็ยังมีความฝันอยู่
ฝันได้ฝันถึงคนนั้นฝันถึงคนนี้ฝันเรื่องนั้นฝันเรื่องนี้ครับเพราะสังขารมันยังทำงานอยู่เวลานอนหลับท่านก็ไม่มีสติควบคุมสังขารก็ปล่อยมันแต่ถ้ามีปัญญามันจะไม่ปัญญาจะควบคุมไม่ให้สังขารมันจะว่ามีปัญญาก็ได้หรือว่าสังขารถูกสอนให้คิดไปในทางที่ไม่คิดไปในทางกิเลสอีกต่อไป
แล้วตอนที่เราหลับจิตเราหลับด้วยค่ะ
จิตเราก็ทำงานต่อความคิดปรุงแต่งนี่คือของส่วนของจิตไม่ใช่ร่างกายส่วนของจิตก็คือเวทนาสัญญาสังขารวิญญาณเวทนาก็คือความรู้สึกบางคืนคุณนอนหลับฝันยังฝันว่าสุขหรือทุกข์ได้ใช่ไหมฝันดีก็สุขฝันทุกข์ก็บางทีตื่นขึ้นมาเหงื่อแตกพรักอย่างนี้นี่ก็อยู่ในจิตเวทนาสัญญาก็คือสัญญาสังขารสองตัวนี้จะเป็นตัวทำแต่งเรื่องขึ้นมาสัญญาก็จำเรื่องคนนั้นคนนี้ชื่อคนนั้นคนนี้สังขารก็เอาคนนั้นคนนี้มาแต่งว่าวันนี้ไปเที่ยวกับคนนั้นไปดูหนังไปทำอะไรกับคนนั้นคนนี้สัญญาสังขารวิญญาณก็รับรู้เรื่องที่กำลังถูกปรุงแต่ง
แม้กระทั่งเวลาหลับจิตก็ยังมีตัววิญญาณนี้
วิญญาณก็รับรู้ไปถ้าไม่รับรู้คุณจะจำได้เลยว่าคุณฝันหรือไม่ฝันใช่ไหมแต่ขณะที่คุณฝันนี่คุณไม่รู้ว่าคุณอยู่ในฝันใช่ไหมคุณจะมารู้ก็ต่อเมื่อคุณตื่นขึ้นมาเมื่อกี้เราฝันไปเนี่ยงั้นตัวขันมันยังทำงานอยู่ขันนามขันทำงานอยู่แต่รูปขันพักผ่อนนอนกรนคลอกนั่นคือรูปขัน She wants to know someone asked หลวงปู่ดุลอาจารย์ดุล Have you heard อาจารย์ดุลหลวงปู่ดุล
หลวงปู่ลิง
No, yeah,
หลวงปู่ดุล
Pudun, he's in Buriram, Surin, in the northeast. Someone asked, and can an arahant dream? And he said, well, dream is made up by sankhara. And sankhara, even the Buddha, the arahant, all still have them. The only difference between your sankhara and the arahant sankhara is that there is no desire in the arahant sankhara, pure sankhara. Our sankhara are tainted, defiled by our greed, hate, and delusion. ปุถุชนฝันด้วยความโลภโกรธหลงฝันไปตามกำลังของความโลภโกรธหลงเหมือนกับตื่นนี่ก็คิดไปตามความโลภโกรธหลงพระอรหันต์ตื่นหรือหลับก็ไม่ได้คิดไปในทางโลภโกรธหลงท่านทำลายโลภโกรธหลงไปหมดนะทำลายความอยากไปหมดนะไม่มีหลงเหลืออยู่ในใจ
So now an arhat, does he have the thoughts that our minds always goes through these thoughts? He doesn't have those thoughts?
Well, the Buddha usually start to teach us, right? Before he can speak, he has to think first. What am I going to talk today? It's all sankhara, but it's pure sankhara. Sankhara driven by Dhamma, not sankhara driven by avijja.
Yeah.
You just said this morning the paticca, the avijja paccaya sankhara. With an arahant is Dhamma paccaya sankhara.
There's no avijja there.
Yeah, it's different. So with arahant, it doesn't have the sankhara doesn't go to the desire. There's always no desire.
Coming up and
that is why Ajahn Mahabhuva used to say, the arahants, when he preaches the Dhamma, it is that Dhamma without an idea. The arahant, when he talks about the Dhamma, it is not tainted with an eye there.
Yeah, it's pure.
So therefore, he's
pure Dhamma.
Yeah, he's pure Dhamma. His mind is just pure Dhamma.
Why us? Why the ordinary being?
Yeah.
When we teach Dhamma, we have our defilement accompany our teaching. So our teaching is not pure. And when people listen to our teaching, they don't believe us.
And he shows the change when you were talking about that. Then tears came down his eyes when he talked about hardship. Why people couldn't understand this. But that can be anyway. That is because not understanding exactly why the pure chitta is.
That tear isn't tear of suffering. It's tear of joy. Tear of appreciation of the intensity of the benefit that you have received from the Dhamma. But if he wants to stop his tear anytime, he could do it. But he just wants to illustrate the immensity of the Dhamma that can affect the mind. See, but it's not a tear of suffering. It's a tear of joy. Tear of appreciation. See. Sometimes you appreciate something, you can burst into tear, right? When somebody do something really good for you.
Because of the pride.
And also,
but an arahant, if he wants to stop at any time, he can do it. But that was the only time that he let it go freely without being controlling it.
But it's different from now. A mother seeing a child achieve something because of that big happiness, the tears come to your eyes. That is also with attachment.
Yeah, it's different because but it's the same feeling of appreciation.
That even can happen.
It's tear of joy, not tear of suffering.
It can even happen to you when you are thinking about, yes, I am going to see such a great being, and there are also unintentional tears of joy that flows down. I will be seeing that this great monk, and that great joy that comes to your mind, and tears start flowing.
People don't understand. They start to doubt. How can an arahant cry? How can he not control emotion? It's not emotion. It's a different level.
I thought that is because if they have experienced this knowing nature of the chitta, then it's not something that is difficult to understand. It's a knowing nature.
With the knowing nature, there's nothing. See, this is our khandha. The khandha that causes the body to cry, but the khandha that is pure, the khandha that thing in the way of the Dhamma. That's all.
Another question that many people ask me now: any habit that you have, even when you become an arahant, if you can't get rid of that habit, why is that?
It's not. You can give up, but it doesn't mean that you cannot do it. See, an arahant do things without having attachment. He can take it or leave it. Like if someone give me a bottle of Coke, for instance, I drink Coke doesn't mean that I'm attached to Coke. Even though in the past I might be attached to Coke and drink it all the time, but I could stop it already, and anytime I want to drink or not want to drink, it doesn't bother me. So Ajahn is like that. He can take anything. He can smoke a cigarette, and he doesn't, he's not affected by whether he's gonna have another cigarette or not. But if someone who is addicted to cigarette, he has to keep on smoking, right?
Even if he stops it, he will be thinking about it. Like Ajahn Pannavado explains on that. Even if you stop smoking, if you have really stopped smoking, you will not be thinking about it.
Like Luang Ta, he chew bitter nut.
Yeah.
See? For most people, they chew bitter nut and they become addicted.
Yeah.
They have to chew all the time. But for him, he can take it or leave it. Like for example, when he went to England, before he was to go on the plane, and people brought him all the bitter nut. He said, "I'm not going to take it with me, but I'm going to have my last bite here," just to show his appreciation for people. Yeah. But he said, "I can stop, no problem." So once he got onto the plane, no more bitter nut. And all the time that he spent in England, he didn't have any bitter nut. So it's not addiction. See, it's not driven by desire. You can smoke cigarette, you can chew bitter nut, or whatever people normally are addicted to. But with an arahant, he can do it too, but he's not addicted to it. He could stop it any time.
Ajahn, another personal question maybe I don't know. When you translated those Desana series, at that time, was it immediately after he gave those talks or after some time?
After a few days. What happened is, when he gave that talk, someone was taping it on a cassette. And then I took that cassette and played it, and then I translated sentences by sentences.
Yeah.
I listened to the Thai talk, then I speak English into another cassette. Yeah.
Because if you listen to the tape, there you translate in tape. If you listen to the tape, and if you read the book, sometimes there is a difference.
Because we have edited.
But
to improve on the.
But your translation is mostly close to the
original Thai.
After what he said.
Yeah, first I listen to the Thai, and then I shut off, and then I translate into the cassette. But my English sometimes, my grammar sometimes is off, not.
But it's pretty good compared to what is available. It's pretty good.
At least we understood.
Yeah, enough to get the message across.
Yeah.
See, the reason why I did this translation, because when Mokta gave a talk, he usually gave about 45 minutes. And then he gave to Tan Panya to explain to the other Westerners. And he could only say it in about 10 minutes. So he's more or less recap, not all the detail. So I thought maybe if I translate the whole thing and put it on cassette, then for those who want to listen to the whole thing can listen.
It's a very great service that you have done, because otherwise English speaking would never have understood it.
So you have the CD for the talk?
I downloaded
from the website.
It was a long time ago, and you gave me the 2 books that are on print. In fact, I even summarized it, and I will show you later on, and I highlighted all the things about it. It was a great value, because that really opens up. Because if you read the Sutta Pitaka, I have read the Sutta Pitaka, but I never could understand this level of thing, because here
it's more detail.
It's more detail, and somebody who has walked the path
has the experience
is steady. Compared to there, it is a summary of everything.
Because what you have in the text is has been translated throughout the ages, passed on from.
That's right.
Something might have gone in the translation.
So they have
been meditating for 10 or 15 years now. Only after listening to those talks that we began to understand what is happening in our mind.
Exactly. Especially where he explains about the Abhijato breakthrough at the Arahat Magga Arahata Pala, that book, and where he also describes about the Chitta. Another thing I wanted to add, the Papasara Chitta that he talks about. Papasara Chitta. He said that is not the
pure Chitta.
Pure Chitta.
Not the pure Chitta.
So that is what I...
That's the Avijja Chitta.
Avijja Chitta. So what I talked to you about earlier was that that knowing, was that something like that knowing Chitta?
That knowing Chitta is still not pure. It's still being under Avijja influence.
Still the hindrance are suppressed, and yet they are ready to come.
They're still in there.
Yeah, but it gives us sort of a
idea
from a distance what this is like.
Yeah. So that you know, because it can be a trap. Okay. Because most people, when they practice to this level, they think they have come to know to the pure Chitta. When in fact it's still not. It's still Avijja Chitta.
When you live your day-to-day life, you can see that these things bother you.
So where then, if that is if that is something close to the pure Chitta, then where does the Papasara Chitta? Where at what point is that Papasara Chitta?
Papasara is the point of the Anakami.
Oh, point of the Anakami. So that is far beyond there, without that.
You have to pass through the body first. Like you say, you have to come now involved with the Namakanda in the mind.
Yeah, involved.
It is the Namakanda that creates this apasara, this brightness, this brightness. Which you have to use vipassana to see that this brightness is still anicca, dukkha, anatta. Don't become attached to it.
That's why he tells Michi Kwai that
Michi,
yes, he tells that
Michi Jiao. Michi Kwai. Michi Jiao. Her name is Michi Jiao.
Michi. It's spelled Michi, pronounced it?
Michi Jiao. K-E-L-L. K-E-double-L. Kel.
But
G-E-L-L.
it is printed in the...
Yeah, in Thai when they try to... they try to use the alphabet. But when you translate the alphabet into another language,
that is right.
You pronounce them differently. See.
So in the English it was out as Mexico.
It's G-E-L-L. You have to pronounce that Gel.
Yes, K-E-W or something.
Yeah,
that's how he put there.
Yeah. It's not right.
It is not.
The closest is G-E-L-L. Gel. Can you spell G-E-L-L? Can you pronounce G-E-L-L or K-E-L-L? Gel. Michi Gel.
I met one of another Michi Kung.
Michi Kung.
Michi Kung.
He pronounces all the
I don't know. That is what they said.
Where?
Another nun.
We met him at Ajahn
Ajahn
place we met her.
Maybe she's still not yet known by many people.
Yes. I met her and whatever she speaks, I don't know, can't understand the language. And
Ajahn, Ajahn said she's an arhat.
Okay. The Buddha said, whoever say anything, you just have to use the Kanlama Sutta. You have to prove first. Prove to your satisfaction before you can truly say yes or no. And people say he is something, okay, just say okay, But you don't have to believe or deny what they say. You have to wait and
till you
prove it.
Till you eat
evaluate it and prove it. There's a saying: the time measure people, distance measure time, distance measure horse, time measure people. You want to know how good a person is, you have to take time to look at that person.
Even husband and wife,
Yeah.
after you have good time, you see the faults.
Yeah. Everything takes time to evaluate.
Did you stay throughout when Ajahn Mahaprabhu was at Udantani?
No, I've stayed here all the time.
No, when he was, when did you left Ajahn Mahaprabhu?
I left Ajahn Mahaprabhu 30 years ago.
And where were here?
Yeah, I came here and
30
stayed here.
years ago?
Yeah. And I never went back.
Oh, I didn't know that. That was at that time Ajahn Panavat was there.
Yeah, he was there.
He was there.
We came to Thailand in 2002,
2010.
but we didn't know English.
And he wanted
Because
to
the
meet
internet
him.
was not familiar to
Yeah.
us then.
But then that time it was a Bhikkhu Sila Ratana.
Sila Ratana.
Ajahn Sila Ratana. Who was with
Tandik.
Big Sila Ratana.
Tandik. I heard he's building a monastery in Virginia.
Virginia, yes.
Virginia.
Yes, in fact,
His home is in Virginia.
I gave a call to him, it went into his answering thing. I met him also there. And in fact, Ajahn Mahaprabhu mentions him and Ajahn Pannavato in that Samana book about their characteristics of the two.
He translated Mechi Kel's biography.
Yes, he translated that. He right.
How much of it is, because he says that she communicates with other. Now when we die, are we in that state of
This is in
before you are
Upachar.
born? She talks about the pig that comes and talks.
Yeah, she has a special ability. When her mind becomes calm, she can contact the deceased, the
now
spirit.
when I'm meditating, I see these faces coming towards me.
Yeah.
I think they are just creations of my mind and I just let it go.
That's right. Mostly they are like that. If there's something else, if they are real, you can communicate with them. You can talk with them. Like you talking to me. And then you can prove later on.
So language does not matter?
No.
Mental language is the same. See? The mental language is the same.
At sort of a frequency, at that frequency your mind is
See,
tuned to.
the mental language is all the same,
the same.
universal. But when you have to express in words, then you have to use the language that you've been accustomed to.
So I think they come for help and I tell them keep to the 5 precepts and have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha and it just disappears.
Just tell whatever you know. But actually they have to be able to talk to you to be sure that
I
they...
have not been able to do that.
You should ask them, who are you? Where did you come from? What can I help you? Then you can at least be sure that you're talking to someone.
Oh, I see. But Ajahn Mahaprabhu says not to be in that state, right?
No, right. When you meditate, when you don't want to get into that, you want to go into appana. Because if you do that, you're wasting your time.
And you get addicted to that.
Right. Yeah. And you think you're great because you have supernatural power. See.
Are those beings to whom the Buddha, when he mentions Sattanang Sambhavesiva, is that the state Sambhavesi? So that can remain for
Sampavesi, Devatas, they are in the same wavelength.
So they can wait in that situation for a long time.
When the Buddha gave talk to the Devata, he has to be in that.
So
Sambhavesi level.
Such a person, can we give merit for them to change that position, to get a birth or whatever? Can we give merit?
It depends. It depends on what caused them to be in that position. If it's delusion and you can give them the wisdom, then they can free themselves from that. But if it's greed or hatred, then you have to convince them to give up that greed and hatred. It depends on what caused them to be in that position. Like Ajahn Man saw two spirits of two sisters that they hover around the pagoda, the unfinished pagoda. And Ajahn Man asked them, "What are you doing here?" And they said, when they were alive, they contributed money for the construction of this pagoda. But they died before the completion of the pagoda. So they're still attached, they're still worrying. So they still hover around that pagoda. See? So
they couldn't finish it.
Right. And Ajahn Man said, once you have done what you could, you should forget about it, because there's nothing you can do anymore. You should go and enjoy the merit that you have made. See? So once they understood that, so once they have understood that, then they gave up their attachment to the pagoda, and then they become a devata.
Give it and let it go. Then he also talks about his former wife, in the former birth, who was hovering around, and
Ajahn Man.
Ajahn Man in the book.
But this what we call secondary information. We should not be too concerned.
This is sort of sideline.
We should be concerned with the primary information. The Four Noble Truths. This is what we should always be concerned with.
So then in the Paticca Samuppada you have to start from the bottom, no? Letting go, and then once you let go, then the dukkha also gets lessened, because now you begin to understand by not holding.
In order to let go, you have to see the anicca, dukkha, anatta.
Because of then you see that because of then the tanha gets less because of the.
Because you see the truth there. When you let go, then your tanha become less and less, and then eventually this no more tanha left.
Yeah, I have noticed that, because one day I let go of the jewelry that I was wanting all the time, and I never want jewelry again. Now I can go into a jewelry shop and come, I don't get want anything.
And you feel a lot better.
I feel peaceful.
So that breakthrough of the Paticca Samuppada has to happen at the point of the feeling. At the point of feeling, that is the point to break. Not letting feeling to take over and move on to tanha.
If you're not affected by feeling, if you have upekkha, then you won't have any tanha.
That's the breaking point.
So you need to develop upekkha.
That's the upekkha.
And upekkha can be achieved by samadhi and panya. See? By samadhi you have temporary upekkha. Once you have temporary upekkha, you want to maintain that to become permanent, you have to use panya, to wisdom. That's why you have to have samadhi and panya in order to eliminate your tanha. Because when you have upekkha, then you are not affected by your feeling, good or bad feeling. When you're not affected by the good or bad feeling, you don't have the desire to get rid of your good or bad feeling. No desire.
Then another question, but this of course purely academical. You don't have to go to the fourth jhana for one to become an arahant, right?
Go to where?
You don't have to go all the way to the fourth jhana, the fourth rupa jhana, to become an arahant.
If you haven't got one, you have to have one. If you already have one, then you don't have to.
If you don't have to. In other words, you can be without it.
No,
you don't have to go all the way.
You have not gone before.
If you already have it, then you don't have to go. Like the Buddha, he already had it when he was a young boy.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Have you got to go there? Is that the least amount required for an arahant?
You need it because sila samadhi support the development of panya.
To the fourth level, fourth jhanic level, you have to go there.
Or else your panya will be chintamaya panya, be just academic, theoretical.
So it's only at the fourth level that you can break through.
Because if you have no upekkha, you cannot stop your tanha.
That is at that level, that the pampasara level is around there.
Same thing, every level of panya. This is your development is by panya, with the support of the fourth jhana.
Mahasati Mahapanya is that.
Yeah.
That's what he's referring to.
Okay, I think everybody get tired and want to leave. All right?
Yes.
Okay. If you want to come back tomorrow, come back and come in. Okay. Okay.
Remember, Ajahn, you don't have any English books, right?
It's still the same old English book. You want some more?
Any
The
English
Forest Listener.
other than that?
No, I don't have any.
Okay. Okay.
Someone is translating my biography. Maybe next time.
Oh, Chonburi-san, is it there? Is it going to be there in detail?
In English, yeah.
And not the videotape, is it? There's one in the internet which was videotape. Is that the one?
It's in the
In the internet.
Internet.
In the internet there's one.
YouTube. You mean in the
Two of
YouTube?
them interviewed you.
No.
Not
This
that-
is more like a collection of my story from various types,
Yeah.
and then they make it into a complete biography.
Oh, I see. Because there's about 4 or 6 of your talks in the internet,
That talk
in
about
English,
yeah.
where you have given to
Yeah.
various cows.
I discuss more. In this book, there's more.
Out of
Someone is translating into English. When it's finished, then I can post it. You can download and read it.
you are going to
Yeah,
put
post
it
it.
in.
Yeah.
Okay, I will talk to you about it.
Okay.